Three Demons Book 2, Chapter 42, Finished Project. The air in the student council room was thick with tension as Hades, Randy, and Blank stood before one another. Randy stepped up towards Blank, manifesting his blade in his hand. Hades looked on amused. Can you fight? After all, it hasn't even been 30 minutes since your last fight. Yeah, I'll be fine, Randy responded, his eyes not leaving Blank. Hades narrowed his eyes in suspicion as the others looked on, worried, as Randy was never this eager to fight someone before. Don't expect this fight. Blank started to speak, but Randy grabbed his face and drug him outside, smashing his body through the window as they plummeted to the ground. Randy stood and looked down at Blank, his right eye giving off a terrifying glow. Blank just looked back up at him and angered. Suddenly, Randy's skin tone began to disappear to a pure white. Blank then began to mock Randy as he stood up. It'll be hard to move without any strength in your arms or legs. Randy just looked on at his hand, seeing the color disappear didn't give him any great concern, which seemed to irritate Blank to no end. Suddenly, a gush of blood flew from Blank's torso. Randy had appeared in front of him and swiftly cut him across his chest. Blank started to panic. He started to shake from both anger and anxiety. Blank regained his composure. Glee began to fill his eyes. Suddenly, all of the color imploded on itself, similar to what happened in his fight against Kazuto and Zyla in the ruins. The surrounding area looked like a manga panel, a shade of pure whites and pure blacks, no color in sight. Ria and the others looked on. This was both a familiar and unfamiliar sight to them. They have seen Blank's ability firsthand before, but Randy's attitude was very different. Ria looked at Hades and saw his expression of disapproval. She had the feeling he had something to do with this. What's going on? Where did all the colors go? Haname asked, looking at her arms and clothes. This is his ability. He can distort the colors around him, make them even disappear if he wanted to. It causes everything to lose their strength in the process. Kazuto explained to Haname as he looked at the battle taking place. Blank began to chuckle maniacally. Just because your allies are here doesn't mean you're guaranteed victory. I've already beaten 2 of them myself. It won't change anything. Randy just looked at him, his hair creating a shade over his eyes, not saying a word to Blank. People like you can never understand the art behind my power, which is why you'll die without me lifting a single finger. Blank continued to mock the silent Randy. Suddenly, the ground began to shake and crack underneath their feet. A clear, thick substance began to pour out from the cracks. Randy just narrowed his eyes as what looked like steam began to appear beneath his feet. Don't worry, you'll burn to death in this life and the afterlife. Blank screamed at Randy as what seemed like magma began to engulf him. Randy then took his blade, swiping the air around him, causing the magma to disperse, a huge gust of energy coming from the swing of his sword. Blank had to take his hands out of his pockets and balance himself from the force of the attack. Randy then lunged towards Blank. However, something stopped him, more like trapped him. He was hardly able to move. It felt like slime was surrounding him. Randy looked around and saw a cubed outline surrounding him. Didn't I mention? A blank canvas is always under my control. Anything I want to paint on will appear. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Blank revealed more of his ability as Randy continued to struggle. Blank then continued, I'd be careful. If you struggle too much, you might get yourself loose and fall in between those cracks below you. Randy looked down and noticed said cracks in the earth from earlier have gotten both wider and deeper. However, he kept his composure and despite Blank's warning continued to struggle himself free, wiggling closer and closer to the supposed bottom. Eventually he got himself free, falling into the cracks in the earth as Blank had said would happen. As if an eraser had done it, the cracks in the earth had just disappeared, leaving Randy trapped below the surface of the earth. Blank began to laugh maniacally as he turned to look at the others watching from above. The ground began to shake once more, and then Randy shot himself up from the earth, rubble and debris flying in all directions. He lunged towards Blank and swung his sword, forcing Blank to jump out of the way as the slash of that sword caused the earth to split apart a good distance. Asuka then turned to Hades. Lord Hades, please, you have to intervene. I don't know what's going on, but Randy is getting carried away. He's going to end up hurting innocent people if you don't. She pleaded with him as he closed his eyes. No. Hades shot down Asuka, who just looked dejected. She looked back down at Randy, getting a very faint hint of his expression. It was empty, no emotion whatsoever. What the hell, father? Asuka has a point here. Ria spoke up, but was cut off by her father. Then you do it. We both know you have the strength to do it. Or is it that you're scared your comrades will caught in the crossfire? Hades scolded Ria, which caused her to bite her thumb in frustration. What's going on? What is this feeling? Is this fear? No, it's excitement. I've never felt this emotion during a fight before. It makes me want to kill that man. I want to kill him so badly. Blank thought to himself as he glared at Randy, who was just chasing after him. Suddenly, several blades appeared from the ground and stabbed Randy continuously, causing him to cough up blood, his head hanging low as he stood there, unable to move an inch. However, that wasn't the end of the onslaught. A rope then appeared around Randy's throat and began to pull him upward, causing the blades to cut downward onto his body, an outlet of blood pouring onto the blades. As Blank looked on with a crazy smile, it quickly went away, seeing Randy looking down on him with bloodlust in his eyes. This caused Blank's heart rate to jump as he began to breathe harder and faster. What's going on? Am I scared? Why am I scared? He's about to die, so why am I scared? Blank thought to himself. Randy ripped his hand in half, reaching up to the rope, cutting himself down as he jerked himself away from the blades. What appeared as smoke coming from his wounds as he walked towards Blank, clear droplets of blood coming from behind him. Blank began to laugh. You really are a demon. I'll be doing God's will by killing you here today. I feel so good right now, this high I've never experienced before, Blank muttered to himself as he rushed towards Randy. However, that high quickly went away as he felt his right arm come off of his body. He didn't even see Randy move, but he had managed to slice clean through his shoulder. Blank's arm flopped onto the ground like a fish as an outline of blood began to stain his white hoodie. Blank began to freak out. Why? 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 Randy walked towards him, an evil malice coming from him, causing Blank to fall over onto his backside. He tried to crawl away from Randy, but he could hardly get far enough. Rapid gasps of air began to come from him. His strength was waning due to the fear he was feeling, the anxiety ever increasing as the sense of Randy stalking closer and closer to him from behind. Randy's expression was cold. No mercy for Blank was found in his gaze as he closed in on him. As the distance between them dwindled, Blank's panicked thoughts raced. He had been so confident in his abilities, but now he faced a merciless demon who had shown no hesitation in maiming him many times. He had underestimated Randy, and now he faces the door to death itself. The area remained silent, the other onlookers frozen by the harrowing scene playing out before them. Hades then sighed before leaping towards them. Randy raised his blade to cut down Blank once for all, but Hades grabbed his arm. Enough. You've caused too much damage. I'll finish it from here. Hades told Randy as he lowered his arm and vanished the blade, doing what he was told. Hades' gaze then turned to Blank. Remember when you asked how I could burn you? Remember when you asked how I could burn you without any color in my heatless flame? Hades then raised his arm, opening his palm, and as he shot out a powerful burst of fire, incinerating Blank immediately, causing an explosion of colors to paint the area once more. End of chapter 42.